We brought Dennis Kucinich to Grays Harbor in the spring of 2007, and he told us that the national intelligence estimate just before the vote to give George Bush this blank check, the national intelligence estimate was put on the speaker's desk, and Dennis said it sat there, and that he was the only one who went up and read as much of that report as he could in the time that was allotted to him. Norm Dix did not walk up to that platform. Norm Dix did not listen to the testimony of Mohammed El-Baradei of the International Atomic Energy IAEA Association, or Hans Blix, both UN people, weapons inspectors. They were in Iraq. They said there are no weapons of mass destruction here. I think Norm is too closely aligned with the military-industrial complex and the military. He got himself put on the Defense Appropriations Committee when he first got to Congress. In the early 1980s, he partnered up with Jack Murtha and a guy named Charlie Wilson. And so Charlie Wilson, Jack Murtha, and Norm Dix and others, in secret, appropriated hundreds of millions of dollars to give to a group in Afghanistan. Here's one of the things they did with that money. They hired this Arab guy, this Saudi Arabian guy, who owned a construction company, to dig tunnels in Afghanistan, in the mountains of Tora Bora, to create a subterranean city, place where urban terrorists that the United States was funding and training could survive away from the Soviet army. So this Saudi Arabian guy got all his construction equipment there, and he built this subterranean city in those mountains. Guess what his name was? Osama Bin Laden. Norm Dix and Charlie Wilson and Jack Murtha funded Osama Bin Laden to create the very subterranean city in the mountains of Tora Bora to which he ran and escaped from the United States after 9/11. Not only that, but the weapons that the CIA supplied to Osama Bin Laden, that Norm Dix paid for, Osama Bin Laden's people are now using against U.S. forces in Afghanistan and Iraq. This is what the CIA calls blowback.
What are you hearing out on the campaign trail about how people feel about Norm Dix now?
I was in Port Townsend, where I am right now, a few weeks ago, and I talked with 200 or 300 people, and said thank you for running. That's what I'm hearing from people. Thank you for running. Thank you for stepping out and saying that you've had enough, and you're not going to take it anymore, and you're going to run. That's what I'm hearing from people. I talked earlier about earmarks, and Norm is number 10, as I told you. A company in Seattle, which contributes lavishly to Norm Dix's campaign, wanted to build a boat. So Norm told the Navy, we're going to build this boat for you. And the Navy said, no, we don't want it. We don't need it. Norm said, we're going to build it anyway. And you're going to get it. So they built it. Over a period of 3 or 4 years, maybe it was even 5 years, Norm appropriated, through earmarks, $17 million to build, I think they built 2 of these boats. The Navy didn't want them, they gave them to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard didn't want them, they gave them to the University of Washington. The University of Washington lets them sit at a dock and they turn them on every year or something to keep the engine going. But Norm Dix, in return for that $17 million, that company gave him $17,000 in campaign contributions. And that is repeated over and over and over in the FEC filings. The Seattle Times did an expose of this. That isn't the only project, but this is Norm's boat to nowhere. And it was there only, it seems, so that Norm could get a campaign contribution. And this stuff doesn't worry him. When a newspaper reporter asked him about the fact that Osama Bin Laden was using weapons that Norm helped supply, he kind of shrugged it off and laughed. When people asked him about the boat to nowhere and the earmarks and their connection to his campaign contributions, his response is, well, if people want to support my campaign, they support my campaign.
What do you say to the people who say you don't have a snowball's chance in hell?
This is something that people used to say. I was a Kucinich supporter, and both times that he's run, or 3 times that he's run for president, the guy is the only one out there who's telling the truth, who's speaking the truth, as far as I'm concerned. And people kept saying, well, he can't win, he can't win. And my response is, if you vote for him, he will win. And that's what I would say about my own chances. Vote for me. I can win if people will vote for me.
Yeah. One of the things is Paul Richmond, as you know, is running in Fort Townsend here. And I know that many of the progressive Democrats are interested in his campaign. And so we have that split in the legions. So do you have an answer for that?
Sure, I think that they ought to vote for me for a couple of reasons. I'm the better choice. First of all, we see that the Democrats, even most of the Democrats in Congress, are not standing up to Nancy Pelosi, and that's going. If Democrats want something from Nancy Pelosi, Democratic members, they will not stand up. And I think Paul is going to be in the same boat. I'm sorry but Paul is not going to change the Democrats, and that's why I need to be elected, because I won't be beholden to the Democratic leadership, and I can stand up to the Democratic leadership in the Congress. I could work with Ron Paul comfortably to bring our military forces home from around the world. I don't see Paul Richmond doing that. I don't see other Democrats doing that. I would work very comfortably with Dennis Kucinich on an impeachment measure. When I get there on January 1st of next year, 2009, Bush will only have 20 days left in office. But I will sign on to any impeachment measure or bring one of my own just because we need it on the record. If not this guy, this Bush, this criminal, if not him, what in the world is impeachment for in that Constitution? If there was no impeachment, which I expect there probably would not be, I will do everything for the next 2 years that I'm in Congress to see to it that George Bush, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, and the rest of that criminal bunch are brought up to the International Criminal Court as war crimes. They are war criminals, and they have made us war criminals as well. This is one of the reasons the Democrats refuse to impeach, because they are tied so closely to this. Nancy Pelosi, Jane Harman, many of them, they have seen these things. They knew the United States was torturing people, and they said nothing. They are complicit. You know, another thing about, I think, a reason why Democrats, progressives should support me over Paul is that just like the rest of the Democrats, I'm sorry to say, Paul cannot let the words single-payer health care pass his lips. And it's going to come sooner or later. We are going to have a single-payer national health care system in this country, you know, a nationalized Medicare. If I'm elected, I will work to see that we have it sooner rather than later.